The factory woke up before the sun did. A metallic groan echoed in the darkness, long before anyone stepped inside. It didn't sound like machinery. It sounded like breath trapped inside a throat made of steel. Jagged shadows shifted across the cracked concrete floor like something moving underwater, slow and heavy, disturbed by unseen tides. Rayan lifted his camera and pressed REC. Though his hand shook so badly, the image blurred for a moment. "If something follows us again," he whispered, "we run. No turning around this time." Zoheb didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the rusted elevator doors at the far end of the hallway. Someone had spray-painted a sentence over them in bright red, but the paint had dried strangely, like veins spreading on skin. We were not alone the first time. The air was colder near the elevator. Not just cold, but wrong. Like something was breathing through the metal, exhaling dead air. A breeze drifted past them, carrying a faint smell of wet soil and metal, like old graves mixed with unfinished machinery. Zoheb lifted his camera and pressed REC, though his hands shook so badly the image blurred for a moment. Something tapped from inside, very gentle. 3 slow knocks. Then a pause. Then 3 more. Rayan stepped back immediately. "No," he said, breathing fast, "we're not doing the elevator again." But the tapping didn't stop. It changed rhythm, becoming faster, like fingers drumming impatiently on steel. Then it scraped, long and slow, like nails dragging across metal. A door behind them slammed on its own, so loud that dust poured from the ceiling in sheets, raining down like ash. Zoheb spun around, flashlight shaking, beam crawling through darkness. A corridor they hadn't seen before stretched into blackness, narrow and wet, like a tunnel cut under the factory floor. It looked alive, like the walls subtly pulsed in and out, slow inhaling and exhaling. Rayan swallowed. This wasn't here yesterday. Shadows deep inside weren't still. They twitched, then froze, then twitched again, as if hundreds of tiny movements were happening just beyond vision. They stepped forward, slow, careful, every footstep sending ripples of sound through the corridor. Water dripped somewhere steadily and unchanging, like a broken clock trying to keep time in darkness. The sound was maddening. Halfway through, Zoheb froze. His light caught something on the wall. Deep scratches, like someone clawed through concrete. 5 parallel lines, repeating over and over, are running down the entire length of the hallway. Some scratches were fresh. The edges still glittered in the light, like tiny metal shards stuck inside. Others were old and filled with black residue, like dried blood mixed with dust. "These aren't animal marks," Zoheb whispered, voice shaking. "They're hands." Before he could finish, both of them heard it, multiple footsteps behind them, soft and wet, like bare feet on stone. Rayan turned his camera back toward the entrance. Nothing there, just darkness. Darkness that looked thicker than before, like it had weight. "Keep walking," he muttered, voice shaking. But the footsteps followed, slow, synchronized, like many people walking at the same pace without breathing. The corridor opened into a massive underground room where machinery sat in pieces, rusted and drowned in murky water. Something was floating on the surface, strips of fabric, tangled wires, and something that looked like hair. The room felt huge but suffocating at the same time, like the walls were pressing inward 1 millimeter at a time. In the center, an old control panel blinked with one green light, the only sign of electricity in the building. Zoheb stepped towards it. The light wasn't steady, it pulsed like a heartbeat. Each pulse sent small ripples through the water. Rayan noticed something first. A figure standing in the corner of the room, facing the wall. Too still, too perfectly still. "Hello?" he called. The figure didn't move. It looked like a man, but too tall, spine bent at a sharp angle. His clothes were soaked, hanging off him like he had been underwater. His head slowly turned, not to look at them, but over his shoulder, back towards his own spine, like his face was on the wrong side of his head. His mouth didn't open, but something inside his throat made a faint clicking sound. The light flickered once, and suddenly the figure was closer. Not stepping, just appearing a few feet closer every time the light pulsed. The sound of water started to rise, louder, all around them, filling their ears like a scream held under water. The floor vibrated under their shoes.
tiny tremors building into a steady rumble. Zoheb grabbed Rayan's arm. "Run," he whispered. They backed away toward the corridor, but the door behind them closed with a slow grinding sound. Metal on stone. No breeze, no impact, just the building choosing. Rayan raised the camera again, hands shaking so hard the image trembled. The figure stepped forward now, its movements jerky like someone dragging a shadow through thick mud. When it reached the blinking light, all other sounds stopped. Total silence. The room went still, as if the air had been cut in half. Even the dripping stopped. Then the figure spoke, not with its mouth, but with a voice that came from everywhere. From the floor, the water, the ceiling, the steel. A chorus of voices layered on top of each other, whispering through metal. "You already came too far." The light went out. Complete darkness flooded the room, and something huge moved in the water, rushing towards them fast, like a body the size of a truck sliding across the floor. Rayan didn't think. He pushed Zoheb toward the corridor, camera still rolling, catching only brief moments of movement, a shape like a hand but with too many fingers, a face bending sideways, eyes that didn't belong on anything human. Something splashed, violently. They ran. They didn't look back. The factory roared behind them like a giant creature awakening. The walls shook. Rusted pipes burst, spraying black water upward like breath from a monster's lungs. Lights they didn't know existed flickered, then shattered. By the time they reached the entrance, the sun was rising outside. Bright, warm, normal, completely unforgiving. They slammed the metal door shut and kept running across the empty lot, not stopping until the factory was only a silhouette in the distance. Rayan turned off the camera, chest burning, breath ragged. His arms trembled like electricity was still running through them. Zoheb stared back at the building. "He wasn't watching us," he whispered. Rayan looked at him confused. Then what was it? Zoheb swallowed hard, eyes wide with realization. It was waiting. Waiting for them specifically. Waiting for someone to hear the knocks. And somewhere inside the building, deep below the floor, something tapped on metal again. 3 slow knocks. Closer this time. Waiting for them to return.